Okay, I do not want this to turn into a BRT debate. I'm happy to have a longer dialogue with you, those of you who don't like it. But let me just share some information about it without trying to say it's good or bad. But let me share information with you, and then, like I say, I'll stay here and talk to you as long as you want. But here's some things about BRT that's good to know. What is BRT? Many of us are having a hard time getting around exactly what it is, because there's really nothing like it that most of us have seen. BRT stands for Bus Rapid Transit. It is designed to go, let me show you the route here. To get your bearings here, this is the Orem Frontrunner Station, and this is the Provo Frontrunner Station. This is the Novell Building, Southgate, our mall right here, University Avenue, 7th North. We call this the J-Dog Jog right here. 9th East, University Parkway, University Mall, UVU, and down to that station. Some people say, well, it's a bus, and it is a 60-foot elongated bus, that is true, but let me tell you what's different. Why will I never ride a bus to UVU? Because I don't have 2 hours, right? That's about what it would take. You'd have to transfer, you go all the way around, that's what buses do. Buses are designed to try to get to as many front doors as possible. Bus rapid transit is much like tracks. It's designed to move along a corridor as quickly as possible with limited number of stops. The blue dots are stops along here. And you can see that it's a limited number of stops because we want this to move quickly through the corridor. Like tracks, it stops and it's side entry on a raised platform, so everybody steps on very quickly, and then it's prepaid and moves forward. You don't stand in and pay your little money one by one as you get on. And it moves through that corridor very quickly. Where you see the solid red on here, and this, including this green right here, it is dedicated lanes, which means it's not held up by traffic as it's going through there, and it can move through that corridor rather quickly. I forget the exact times, but you're looking at probably a 20-minute bus ride from downtown Provo over to the University Mall, or maybe 22 minutes or so to UVU. And so that's why it's not really fair to compare this to a bus. It's very different in speed, and its goals are very different. It's actually closer to tracks than a bus. Why not tracks? Love it to be tracks. Tracks is twice the cost, at least. Maybe more? 3 times, Chad? 3 times more. 4 times. Okay, 4 times more expensive. So some of you that are grumpier about it, it's because of the cost. Tracks would be about 4 times that cost. It will be, no, it's not electric. It's hybrid diesel buses. This, to give you an idea of design, is 7th North, and you can see that it's actually going to improve most of the corridors it goes through. I don't know how many of you have driven on 7th North at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's this stream of students, right, moving across the street. It's just a tough street. This will be the new streetscape, and you can see that it will discourage students from moving in the middle of the blocks across the street, and they'll also signalize and put higher priority to pedestrians moving across those crosswalks. Dramatically improve that. Chad, I tried to get some number on trees. Do you have the total number of trees net gain? No, I don't. But you can see, I'll get that number. Dwayne, do you know? Net gain. So one of the concerns about this is it removes some trees. It is true, it will take down some trees. There's a net gain of 800 trees along the route. It will take a few years for those to mature. If you next time you go down University Avenue, do me a favor, look at those beautiful maple trees closely. And you're going to see many diseased trees with large sections missing. Those were planted in road base decades ago, and they're reaching the end of their useful life. And so, yes, it will be tragic to lose some of those, but we'll replace those trees, and in a few years you're actually going to have 800 more mature trees than we have right now along the route. Some things that are important to know about BRT. There is no new tax associated with BRT. The funding is coming from a 1/4-cent sales tax that you voted on years ago and approved for these types of projects. 2008, 2006, okay, that was voted on. There is no new tax that will be associated with this. It's 1/3 the cost of Frontrunner. Right? This is what's interesting. We had so much dialogue in our community about this. And I'm saying, well, where was the dialogue about Frontrunner? That was $500 million. And aren't we glad we have Front Runner coming down in our community? We love it right now coming down. It's a wild success. More people are riding it than were predicted by large numbers. 12,000 people will ride BRT a day. There were some who didn't believe this number. So the city went out and commissioned a study. We paid far more than we should have. It was $90,000 to get an independent person to verify this number. An independent firm came in and verified this number, 12,000 riders per day. You may not be one of them, but that's 12,000 people who are now off the streets so that you can drive your car and park in your car. My personal belief, yes, sir?
Twice the public Provo citizens have voted the BRT down. When are you going to listen to the people in Provo City?
So I would take exception to that. And there has been a referendum, and that'll play its way through the courts. The referendum was on what's called the lease agreement. Now let me briefly describe that to you. The lease agreement was, let me go back to the route. Where there is a dedicated lane, remember the red, owned by the city, UTA would like a lease agreement to operate in those lanes. For Provo, that is the section right there, 7th North, that is a city-owned street where it's in dedicated lanes. Remember, these are owned by the state, right through there. So the lease agreement was UTA coming to us and saying, we would like to lease those roads. It was one of the few leverage points we had as a city with UTA. So we said, well, let's talk about it. And we were able to negotiate some amazing aspects of this deal that we didn't previously had. One of that was how the whole thing was managed. In other communities, UTA has come in and been the lead dog and built the system that they wanted to build the way they wanted to build it. We negotiated a management structure for this project that had 6 votes on this. UTA had 1 vote, UDOT had 1 vote, the county had 1 vote, MAG, which is our organization that organizes traffic and roads and many other things for us here in the community, had a vote. Provo had a vote, and Orem had a vote. It's 4 local votes against 2 state agencies. Never before in the history of a UTA project have they done that. We were able to negotiate that into the contract. In addition, we negotiated in some enhancements. Along 9th East, there's a number of homes that are increasingly worried about the amount of traffic on 9th East, and one of the enhancements was building them a tiny little frontage road that went through their neighborhood. That's what the referendum was on, is on that lease agreement. And that's the question of, will the referendum overturn that lease agreement? My personal feeling is that would be a huge mistake because it's in the city's best interest. Let me go one more question, and then we're not going to get stuck on BRT and go on.
That was this year's petition, collection of signatures. Last year, we collected signatures on a petition to get the issue of the BRT on a ballot so that the citizens could vote. Unfortunately, we were not given the petition soon enough. We were cut out 2 weeks of our petition gathering time because the city stopped giving us our petitions. We didn't have enough weeks to gather petitions, signatures. We came very close. Had we had the extra week or 2, we would have had way over the top enough signatures to get that issue on a ballot. And consequently, you took it as we didn't give us, nobody cared, we all want the BRT. So you went ahead with it, and it was not on a ballot. This year, the reason we started collecting signatures is because we knew if we could at least have a say in that section of the road, we could collect signatures on a petition to let you know what the people really feel about the BRT. We might be able to stall it, we might be able to stop it. We were given enough time this time because of the legislature from the state changing the rules about giving us ballots. We got the ballots on time this time. We got way more than enough signatures from the public about being against the BRT. I personally went door to door in this neighborhood collecting 400 signatures door to door. 95 or more percent of the people are against the BRT. They understand it enough to be against the BRT, and you totally ignored our will on this.
Okay, I think it's fair to say we see that from a different perspective. You want to comment in favor, but I'm just going to move. We're going to move on, and here again, I'll be happy to talk to you individually, and if you have BRT questions, either I can answer them or Public Works can answer them. This, to me, is the perfect example of what I mentioned a few minutes ago, where the time to influence a project is in those early years. BRT has been in the process for 13 years.
8 years ago, people were not aware of it. Even now, they were still not aware.
So one of the realities that I face is every time BRT comes up for one of these issues, I meet people who say, I've never heard of this. And it's true. They've never heard of it. I can tell you there have been 330 Daily Herald articles. There have been more public meetings than every other public works project in our city combined on this project. I get it. There are still people that haven't heard of it.
If you'd have gotten it on the ballot, you would have known.
Okay. We respectfully disagree. Sometimes I get painted as this being my project, and sometimes I want to just yell from the ceiling tops. I inherited this. This was well under the way when I came along. I view my mantle on this as delivering the best project possible that I can deliver with a project that was already underway, and I believe we've done that, and I believe we've done that in spades. Okay, and I'll be happy to talk to all of you.
So you're voting against the voice of the people in Provo City.
There's a voice that also wants it.
Yeah, so thank you. Okay, I think you've made your point, and hopefully I've made mine. Okay, Provo High School.